pipes, so you can get back and forth in SimNow through the serial port interface also, and that's kind of the commands. That's the way to do it. Okay. The host serial port, you type that in. The name pipes you set up. Initially, connect SimNow to another host to another machine using null. Okay, I'm not sure what that meant. All right, so you can use the serial port interface. Go ahead. The thing that SimNow has, keep going. The thing that SimNow has is it has a lot of interfaces to allow you to have ins and outs, so that you don't have to go in and actually change the code. So it has it has the SDK interface. You can go next, and next. Kind of shows you all the way. The ability of getting things in and out using the serial port interface. Go ahead. So there's an analyzer interface which allows you to connect into SimNow and create a module that runs outside. That if you put it in the correct directory, it then picks that analyzer interface up and runs it when it's running SimNow. So you can collect different informations like processing time, instructions. It can count different instructions. You can gather just different statistics as you're running. The analyzer interface, basically, if you go on here, you can see what analyzer interfaces, what analyzers you have, and you can turn them on and off. So you can go in here and say CPU logger, but you can create any of these .sos or .dlls. And it'll slow SimNow down, because what it does is it runs each of those in between each instruction. Okay, so that actually slows down the running of SimNow by quite a bit. Now the COTSon interface, different to the analyzer interface, is that the COTSon interface gave you a quantum, so that you don't actually interrupt and run SimNow and pester SimNow on every instruction basis. You actually do it at a quantum, and you can set what that quantum is, so you can only get interrupted, and SimNow will keep the information on the instructions at that point. And so you can turn these on, and you can choose which CPU they're attached to. So like if you want to attach one analyzer to one CPU and not to another, you can do that. The analyzers are found by just putting the .sos in the right directory structure. So SimNow finds them at startup. Okay, so you don't have to do any new installations or anything like that. Okay, go ahead. And there's a lot of documentation in SimNow in the user's manual to tell you how to use there's an analyzer document. There is a user's manual for SimNow, which is, like I said, over a couple hundred pages. And there's SimNow support at amd.com. You'll get to anybody in my group to talk to about SimNow. So there was a lot of stuff there I just covered. I went through, that's kind of our training, okay, at SimNow. But they do it in 2.5 hours at AMD, okay, and I just did it in 45 minutes, so, but it kind of gives you an idea that there's a lot of interfaces to SimNow. SimNow has the ability to be configured in a lot of different ways. We have a lot of different parts modeled. If you look over here in the list of devices, we have a ton of different API. We actually had a lot of, we still do, I don't know if it's in there. We have a lot of, if necessary, NVIDIA different models, okay, but we don't put them in the NDA release, I guess. We have, we're putting in all of we're starting to get the graphics ones in here. You'll see right now the graphics model we're using is this Emerald graphics, but that's going to change to ATI graphics chips. But right now, we're at the point where we have, we could model them without all of the DirectX 10 support and DirectX 9 support. So we can model them to the point where the video files boots, and it boots XP. So one of the things that's, so the main thing in Sim now, besides being able to configure it and create it and everything and do all of the different platforms, is to be able to run different applications as is. Did I just close the VSD?
Yeah.
I did, didn't I? Okay. Didn't need to do that. When it's loading the VSD, it's basically creating the different processors and stuff that are going to be and configuring it all. So that was what's in the VSD. And when you say start,
Set the disk.
oh, disk image.
Yeah.
I lost the disk image too. Didn't I? Do I have to keep? Yeah. So that was a saved VSD that these guys had saved using, and this is a benchmark that they're using, and it runs. So it runs. This is a Windows operating system. So if you go down here, you'll see just everything the same. So it uses all the devices and everything, device drivers from, and it runs at about a tenth of the speed of the processor that's on the computer here. But this is a 4-core. So it's showing that it's a 4-core processor setup. Actually, it's 4 processors, 2 cores each. Okay.
Yeah, I think this version of Windows only detects 4.
It only
Only
detected
detects
4.
yeah.
Okay, all right. All right. So you can see the speed at which it runs by the way that that's moving. In real life, it would move quite a bit faster. Okay, than that. And when you're running this, if you turn around and there's special keys, sometimes it's hard to get the mouse to get exactly where you want it. So you can say grab mouse and, all right, how come it's not grabbing it? Once I didn't get that. Okay. There, the mouse is back. So it runs a little slower than now, but it's something that you can actually tolerate if you want to do some analysis.